Okay, Diane Bailey. Here. Stephen Booker,
Present.
Joseph Chen,
Here.
Michael Clausen, Kathleen Goforth. Here. Mele Himui,
Here.
Aurelio Frizar,
Here.
Gail Lee. Here. John McKenna,
Here.
Jason Mendelson,
Present.
Gerald Schaff,
Here.
Remy Tan,
Here.
Robert Whitehair.
Here.
Thank you. We have a forum.
Do we have anybody under AB 2449 online?
We do not.
Okay, great. At this time, I would like to request public comment. We're going to try to limit it to 2 minutes for any items not on the agenda that they'd like to raise for us, please. And please come to the podium where you can be heard on the record. Do we have any? I think there's somebody online. Is there anybody in the room first? Public comment? I can't see anything. Okay. And online, do we have one? No?
I think I see David had a hand raised, but I don't see it anymore.
Did someone have an online comment?
There we
There we go.
I just had my hand up because the meeting, I was waiting for the meeting to start. I didn't know if it was happening or not, so
Okay,
I'm good.
thank you. Okay, there being no public comment, I would like a motion to set the agenda and approve the consent agenda items and approve the minutes.
So move.
Thank you, Stephen. Can I get a second?
I'll say second.
Who said it first?
Who was the first second?
Can we get a vote on that, please?
I'm sorry, who was the second again?
I think it was Kathleen or it was Mele. I don't know. One of them. Kathleen?
Sure.
Okay.
Diane Bailey,
Hi.
Stephen Booker, Joseph Chen,
Aye.
Michael Clausen, Kathleen Goforth,
Aye.
Mele Himui,
Aye.
Aurelio Frizar,
Hi.
Gail Lee,
Aye.
John McKenna.
Aye.
Jason Mendelson,
Aye.
Cheryl Schaff,
Aye.
Remy Tan,
Aye.
Robert Whitehair.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda.
Vanessa, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure that you can hear me. Thanks.
Thank you. The next is my report. I'll be very brief. We're gonna get out of here on time or early tonight. I don't promise that, but that's gonna happen. The board meeting was great. I would encourage all of you to find out who your new, if they are new, rep is for your city or your things you're associated with on the board, because this was their introductory meeting at the last board meeting. And they seemed very passionate and eager, joining the already passionate, eager existing board members. And I commend you to talk to them. Most of the meeting was orienting them and getting that ready up front. And then there was a big presentation by Peter Levitt on the battery and the solar and home storage, the residential solar and home storage program that PC is going to be launching in earnest. It's very, very encouraging. I commend you to look at the minutes of the meeting to hear about it. And that was going to be on our agenda this month, but we're putting it with a lot of packed things next month, right? So take a look for that. We'll get back to introductions in the future, but because of how long we've gone, I'm going to stop now and request any public comment on my wonderful report. All right, thank you. Being none, I'm going to move on to our item number 3, which Shelby Bush will be presenting on the Zoom on the recommendation on expanding energy efficiency offerings from Peninsula Clean Energy. Oh, and before we begin, I'm sorry, Shelby, we're going to try to continue the plan of, if you have clarifying questions, ask them, but save discussion till the end and try to have your discussion planned out so that we can be efficient and move through it. Because this is also an action item that we can take action if we so choose after we hear the presentation. Thank you.
Jason, may I ask one question right now? Is that okay? I just wanted to ask Shelby, because I couldn't really tell from the slides, which I did read before I came. I couldn't really tell how this program fits into the context of all of PCE. And that would help me to just, if she could give us a couple sentences on that, sort of, you know, I mean, I understand the concept of energy efficiency, but sort of where does this fit in with the overall programming, and why haven't we ever talked about it before?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I think we will go over it a little bit more in my narration of the slides. But overall, really, we're committed to decarbonization at PCE, and there are very, very large goals in California and for decarbonization specifically. And so, you know, it's going to take an all hands on deck approach. We currently self-fund several programs. We have one program that is CPUC funded. right now. But this has the potential to bring millions of dollars to our territory. We're trying to, as you'll see tonight as well, marry some of these efforts with our existing programs. So hopefully taking some external funding to help support some of our existing programs as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, great. All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Shelby Bush. I'm the Energy Efficiency Programs Manager here at PCE. I joined back in early December with the goal of expanding our energy efficiency program offerings. Just a little bit about me. Over the past decade, I've designed and implemented energy efficiency programs across California. I've worked with every investor-owned utility in the state, as well as a few municipal utilities, renewable energy networks, and community choice aggregators to drive some impactful energy solutions. So tonight, I want to talk about the exciting opportunity for PCE to scale up our energy efficiency efforts through an application process with the CPUC. This is a big step that, like I said, can unlock millions in funding to support our decarbonization programs in our community. So before we dive into the details of the application, let's talk about why this matters and how it fits into the broader energy landscape. Next slide. Thank you. So like I mentioned, as you all probably know, at PCE, we are committed to scaling decarbonization. That is helping homes and businesses transition to cleaner, more efficient energy use. But to do this effectively, we need more than just the PCE funding. We need to leverage external funding sources to maximize our impact. So PCE is positioned to take on a larger role in energy efficiency. And the California Public Utility Commission offers funding that could allow us to expand our impact significantly. So today, I'll walk you through the opportunity, our approach to energy efficiency, and most importantly, get your feedback on how we can best serve our community. So first, let's talk about how CCAs like PCE fit into the energy efficiency landscape. Next slide. Thank you very much. Community choice aggregators have a statutory right to administer energy efficiency programs under California law. So this means that we have the opportunity to shape programs that align with our local priorities rather than relying solely on investor-owned utilities. Right now, our role in energy efficiency is somewhat limited. So let's compare our current approach with with this new opportunity that could allow us to do more in our community. So currently, PCE receives limited funding for energy efficiency, and this funds our Flex Market program through what is called Elect to Administer process, or ETA. So ETA funding is small, and it's only pretty much enough to support a single program at a time, meaning we can't scale our efforts significantly. But the opportunity we're discussing today is a process called Apply to Administer. And this is an application that, if successful, would allow PCE to build a full energy efficiency portfolio with multiple programs providing greater impact across sectors. So before I move on to talk about our goals for this application, I want to set the stage for exactly what I mean when I say energy efficiency in this context. Next slide. Oh, thank you very much. So through the CPUC funding, we can develop programs that support both traditional energy efficiency and electrification. So for traditional energy efficiency, I'm talking about programs that improve like lighting, HVAC systems, insulation, etc. These are all kind of traditional energy efficiency measures, all of which help reduce energy consumption and lower costs. Electrification programs or measures focus on replacing gas-powered appliances with clean electric alternatives. So we're talking heat pumps for space and water heating, induction cooktops, and other efficient technologies. So within this funding, we aren't just talking about rebates and incentives. It can also support initiatives like a strategic energy management program, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But SEM, for example, focuses on helping businesses and organizations implement ongoing energy saving strategies, providing education, coaching, technical assistance to drive long-term efficiency improvements. So at the same time, CPUC funding supports efforts to reduce emissions from cooling systems by promoting low global warming potential refrigerants, which are more climate-friendly alternatives for refrigeration and cooling technologies. So I say all that just to say, it's not just traditional energy efficiency measures. There's several types of initiatives that we can cover with this funding. But I do want to be clear that this funding does not cover solar panels, battery storage, or electric vehicles. Those all fall under separate programs outside of this process. There is some funding called IDSM funding that we may also look to get after that could support programs like this. But for today's conversation, let's put those aside. Okay, so let's talk about our core goals for this effort. Next slide, thank you. So decarbonizing at scale requires an all hands on deck approach. So our climate and energy goals are incredibly ambitious. And while there are already energy efficiency programs available through investor-owned utilities and bay rent, or like PG&E and bay rent in our area, PCE is uniquely positioned to address our communities, and additional funding is essential to meeting the scale of the challenge. Right now, our ETA funding, so the funding that we're currently getting from the PUC, limits supporting only one program at a time, which isn't enough to drive large-scale impact. So that's why we're pursuing this ATA funding, which will provide us the opportunity to develop a portfolio of energy efficiency and electrification programs. PC is conducting right now, as part of the process, a market assessment and outreach to identify where new programs are needed most. We're working closely with existing program administrators and partners, CBOs in our service territory, to ensure our efforts complement rather than duplicate existing energy efficiency programs. It's important to emphasize that this doesn't impact other energy efficiency budgets. So it's not going to affect the amount of budget that, let's say, PG&E or Bay Rent is already getting. There's no cap on the funding for program administrators, meaning that these dollars are additional resources that can go towards accelerating energy savings in our community. So, of course, when we talk about expanding funding, affordability is always a key concern. So I do want to take a look at how PCE is prioritizing affordability while pursuing these goals. So obviously we recognize that affordability is a top concern for customers, and PCE is committed to limiting additional costs wherever possible. Rate affordability is central to our decision making, and we carefully consider the financial impact of every investment we make. At the same time, California's decarbonization goals remain a priority. So under SB 10, for example, we're required to continue progress towards a clean energy future. And one of the best ways that we can do this is through energy efficiency funding. Energy efficiency is the most cost-effective energy resource because it reduces demand, lowers peak loads, and helps avoid costly grid infrastructure upgrades. So investing in energy efficiency means that we can cut costs for customers on an individual level while advancing decarbonization. To be clear, I do want to mention that the funding that supports energy efficiency programs has a minimal impact on customer bills. Energy efficiency funding makes up less than 2% of a customer's bill within the public, and it comes through as the part of the public purpose programs charge, a very small portion of that. While the primary drivers of rate increases are actually wildfire mitigation and transmission and distribution costs. So even with a $10 million budget a year, PCE's energy efficiency programs would have a negligible effect on bills. So while we fully support keeping costs low for customers, we also know that investing in energy efficiency is a smart and cost-effective way to reduce bills and avoid bigger infrastructure expenses in the future. So what does this process look like for us to apply and implement these programs? All right, talking about the application timeline. So this is a longer term process. It has multiple phases leading up to a full program implementation. So the process is broken down into 4 key phases over the next year, spanning from now until February 26th when we submit our application. So right now we're finishing up and conducting the market research and community outreach effort to identify our needs and opportunities. And your feedback today is part of this process. Once we gather input, we will refine our program vision, establish clear goals, and identify priority program areas. By early 2025, by later Q2, Q3, we will develop a detailed portfolio plan that outlines the specific measures, implementation strategies, and budget allocations. This includes cost effectiveness and impact evaluations. And then the final stage will compile all components into a formal CPUC application, ensuring compliance with the technical and regulatory requirements before submission in February 16, 2026. So, and then once the application is submitted, we enter a review phase, which lasts from February 2026 through December 2027. So these programs wouldn't start until 2028. At the earliest. But once approved, we would be officially ready to launch the energy programs, and that would mark the beginning of PCE's full-scale administration of the portfolio. Okay, next slide. All right, I'm going to talk about our portfolio approach real quick. This is a little bit more detail of what we're thinking so far. Okay, so in the portfolio, we can serve bundled and unbundled customers. So that means a PCE customer and customers within our service territory that are still receiving generation from PG&E. We can serve everyone in our territory. This we'll include strategies to promote electrification where viable and support the use of low global warming potential refrigerants. So to comply with CPUC requirements, PCE's energy efficiency portfolio is structured into 3 main segments. We have a resource acquisition segment, equity programs, and market support programs. Next slide. So let's start with resource acquisition. These programs must be cost effective and will likely primarily be focused on non-residential customers like commercial and industrial buildings. Then we have equity programs. We're planning to, these are going to be underserved communities, especially renters and low-income residential customers. And then lastly, market support. These programs aim to transform the energy efficiency market. So with this portfolio structure in mind, let's break down the funding. We're proposing somewhere between, this is kind of in shift right now, somewhere between 32 million and 40 million in the portfolio dollars for over 4 years, which breaks down somewhere between 8 to 10 million per year. The portfolio is going to be divided into 3 segments, like we talked about, and each of them has a specific role, but the resource acquisition segment can only be up to 70% of the budget. Equity segment can be 20%. Well, the combination of equity and market support need to be 30% of the budget. Okay, next slide. Okay, so let's talk about some of the initial concepts that we're thinking of. So I want to emphasize again that these are just initial concepts. The conversations that we're having right now in our market research and outreach effort are meant to help shape what this looks like in the final application. So first we have resource acquisition, which must meet strict cost-effective requirements. This means that these programs need to deliver measurable energy savings at scale where grid benefits outweigh the cost of the program. we have in this segment, we have market access program, which would be our flex market program. So this model provides performance-based incentives where implementers are paid based off of verified energy savings at the meter. It allows for flexibility in the measures while also ensuring cost effectiveness. Every implementer, every PA has to have a market access program. So we will propose the flex market because we're already doing that right now and having some good success. Next, we have the strategic energy management program. So rather than focusing on equipment upgrades alone, SEM or strategic energy management, or SEM, as it's called as well, helps industrial, commercial, and multifamily customers to adopt energy savings practices through training, coaching, and continuous improvement strategies. These historically have been really great cost-effective programs, and our customers, from our feedback so far, have pretty much been asking for this model. Then next is the equity section, which allows more flexibility and cost effectiveness rules, which will help us serve customers who typically face barriers in accessing energy efficiency programs. So likely we'll have some sort of direct install program. This could potentially have a multifamily housing and renters concentration that can provide energy efficient upgrades at no or low cost to participants. We're hoping that we can somehow integrate this in with our low income turnkey electrification program to maximize that impact as well. And then lastly, we have market support, which focuses on initiatives that drive long-term transformation and energy efficiency adoption. So under this category, we would really like to somehow potentially do reach codes. We do a lot of reach codes work right now, so folding that into external funding might be a good idea for us. So this reach codes program, if you're not familiar, supports technical support to local governments to help advance progressive building codes that encourage energy efficient construction or electrification and retrofits. And then also workforce education and training. So investing in training programs that build workforce needed to implement these energy efficiency and electrification programs. Something like, low global warming potential, refrigerant training, handling, or recycling is an example of that. So we're going to continue to engage stakeholders to refine these programs and ensure that they meet our community needs. But we do want to hear from you, and your feedback will help shape our approach moving forward. So next slide here. All right, so this leads us to the discussion. I put some questions up here for you to consider, but any other feedback or comments are also appreciated. So, here, what are the biggest barriers to energy efficiency adoption in our communities? What role should PCE play in workforce development and education for energy efficiency and electrification? What are the best ways for PCE to engage businesses and residents in these programs? What are the best ways for PCE to engage renters and landlords in these programs? And again, any other feedback or comments are welcome. So I'll hand it to you all in the group.
Thank you, Shelby. First, we'll do a table discussion. We'll do public comment after that. You want to kick us off?
I've already spoken, but can I speak
Please,
again? Can you give us some examples of programs that might affect each of these potential groups, like the 70% group for the commercial customers, and then for the other 20 and the 10?
Sure. So in the resource acquisition, which is the 70% that you mentioned, in the Flex Market program, it currently exists for both residential and commercial, market rate, anyone essentially. And we likely or might carry that forward or just make it primarily commercial. Strategic energy management can be commercial customers, industrial customers, and multifamily customers. So think like multifamily campuses with maybe like a central system on site.
But
Then
how are they done? I mean, can you describe better the flex market program and how the second one that you mentioned, how are they actually accomplished?
Sure. So the Flex Market program, it leverages aggregators. So entities that aggregate different energy projects. We get, and currently right now, we get a lot of like commercial lighting projects. And so we have it's basically trade ally driven in that way. So we have aggregators that go out and find these projects and bring them into the program. We measure them at the meter. So it's verified energy savings. And then we pay them based off of on their energy savings at the meter. And then within strategic energy management, it's a long-term program. It's a multi-year program. It's traditionally, the other PAs, they've extended these programs just recently, actually. So initially they were like a 6-year program where you basically work with the customer to develop a plan to continuously improve your energy usage over time, and then you track your progress and iterate along the way. So right now, like I said, the IOUs had like a 6-year program, and they've just extended it out to 8 years because they've been so successful and people have really been liking them. And then in the equity section, this will likely definitely some sort of residential focus. So equity would be disadvantaged communities and hard to reach customers is typically the guidance that we get. So, a multifamily property in a disadvantaged community as described by Cal and Screen, the census data, that would automatically be like a disadvantaged community. Now, Bayren does have some multifamily program, and so we definitely need to figure out where we fit into that. But we want to serve our residential customers in this section. And then within the market support, this is more support items for the markets. So workforce education and training would actually support the trades that are out there doing this work in some capacity, and Reach Code helps our local governments pass stricter or more progressive building codes.
Diane?
I think there might be some public comments to this effect, so I'll try to be brief. If this funding is related to the public goods charge, how do we know that successful energy efficiency programs that already exist won't be impacted by PCE's new program if there's a no double dipping rule with public goods funding? You mentioned that the existing programs in effect right now won't be impacted by PCE jumping into this new forum. And so how do you deal with that no double dipping policy, or would these be new revenues on top of the public goods charge?
Yeah, great question. So it does not take away from any funding from the
Could you repeat
existing.
the question, please? I couldn't really hear. I'm sorry.
Do you want me to say it
Through
again?
the chair,
louder, or do you-
please.
Yeah, Diane, go ahead.
Yeah, just
Yes, how can we ensure no double dipping on the public goods charge if this is using that funding? If it's not using that funding, what is the new revenue source, and what would that mean to ratepayers here?
Yes, so great question. So this funding does come from the PPP, the Public Purpose Programs charge. It is not, it's going to be additive to the existing funding or the existing revenue that's pulled from the PPP. So PG&E, for example, will have the same energy efficiency funding. This would be in addition to that. So it would change the public purpose program charge. However, it's going to be fairly negligible given our proposed budget size.
Okay, Robert?
The $10 million, that's a max, or is that an allocation? Is that something you can ask for more or less? How did you arrive at the $10 million? I heard you say 8 million to 40, so 32 million to 40 million, so there must be some range. How did you arrive at the 10 million? That's the first question. I have a second question, if you don't mind.
Okay, great question again. So the funding is unlimited as long as we can justify it. So it could have been 20 million, it could have been 5 million. We were starting out we won't actually know what the funding amount is until we kind of get into really building the portfolio and allocating funding to each program. But generally we arrived at 10 million. It just seemed like, based on our territory and our service territory size, that would be a generous, but a reasonable amount for us to develop an entire portfolio. So as we develop the portfolio, it could be a little less than 8, it could be a little bit more than 10, but we're shooting for that range, if that makes sense.
Okay, Robert, great answers. The second part of it, you mentioned 70% for market, 20% for equity, and 10% for marketing. Are those hard and fast? Could you say 100% for equity? Just to throw a number out there?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, I wish. No, these are rules from the CPUC. So we have to have 70% for resource acquisition, and then market support and equity max is 30%. So you can kind of move that funding around a little bit.
And you can choose between multifamily and single family, or does it all have to be multifamily on the equity side?
No, it doesn't have to be either, or it could be both.
Okay, thank you.
Stephen?
Yes, thank you for that presentation. I do have a couple of questions. As far as your program focus, does it need to be cost effective? There's one that says yes and 2 that say no. And I was wondering what's the determining factor on cost effectiveness, and would you think all of them should be cost effective? I was wondering if these programs have any prevailing wage requirements. If they do, who's doing the compliance? And are these going to be registered with the DIR?
So to your first question, sorry, can you repeat the first question?
I said we have these programs and program focus, and it says it doesn't need to be cost effective, where 1 says yes and 2 say no. And under my impression, I want to know what the determining factor is, because I would think everything would be cost effective.
Yep.
So what's that's where the confusion comes from me.
Okay, so the first question is what the cost effectiveness metric that the CPUC holds portfolios to is through the total resource cost test. It basically is a ratio of measuring the costs and the benefits of the program implementation. Your portfolio in the resource acquisition segment has to be greater than 1, meaning that your benefits, or it has to be greater than 1.25 actually. Your benefits have to be 25% more than your costs. And then for the equity and market support, these traditionally are harder to reach customers. So they traditionally just haven't been like cost effective in the same way. But the state did do, or not the state, but there is studies that show that every dollar invested into energy efficiency at the CPUC level, into the energy efficiency programs, you get $3 of return. So although the resource acquisition segment is the only one that's required to be cost effective, on average, the portfolios themselves are more cost effective.
You had 2 questions, right?
Yes, and I was wondering, is there a prevailing wage requirement for these programs? And who's running compliance on that, if there is? And will it be registered with the DIR? I mean, I have a lot of questions, but I don't want to take up all your time.
Maybe I can actually ask Yana. She has a little bit more of the policy and regulatory background on these. I believe so, on the commercial side, but not on the residential side for the prevailing wage. And I'm not as familiar with the DIR.
Yeah, hi, I can jump in. Jana Kopechok-Landa, I've met most of you, if not all of you, in previous meetings, Associate Director of Innovation Strategy. And yeah, I'm working with Shelby on this application, kind of from a strategic guidance point of view. She's really the technical expert, but I get engaged on a higher level. So in terms of prevailing wage, to my knowledge, I've worked on energy efficiency applications in my previous role at Marin Clean Energy for 5 years. And to my knowledge, there's no prevailing wage requirement set by the CPUC. That does not mean that PCE wouldn't implement such a wage potentially. I think that's a TBD. I know we're currently having discussions in what instances we require prevailing wage and when not as an entity. So I think stay tuned on that. I don't, want to speak in turn and kind of promote something that we're still discussing internally. But to my knowledge, the funding itself, so the CPUC does not require prevailing wage. And then actually, I'm not aware of, I have to admit, on your third question, I'm not aware of what that entity is or what that abbreviation stands for. I don't know if you could.
Department of Industrial Relations?
Yeah. Do they kind of enforce prevailing wage, or what's their relevance here? If you could just explain for a second.
As far as running compliance with prevailing wage and having the ability to do certified payroll checks and so on and so forth, it's just another level of making sure that there's no misclassification on these programs.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, I'm definitely no prevailing wage expert, but I know that, folks, Rafael Reyes from our programs team, a senior director of programs, is looking into kind of standardizing prevailing wage requirements across our programs. I know there's some discussions going on, so we'll circle back with you. We'll definitely make a note, and we'll circle back with you when these conversations are concluded.
Awesome, thank you. And Raphael's here.
Oh, Rafael's there. There
Wanna
you
say anything?
go.
Raphael, do you want to say anything right now?
The short story is that we require prevailing wage in our turnkey programs where we are hiring contractors to do work. And EIR is something that is that our assessment is most appropriate on large commercial projects where commercial contractors like those that are installing our solar and storage programs and the PV program would then comply to that process. So that's our current approach.
So that was a no.
In terms of, well, I can't give you a blanket answer on what this program is going to look like because there are multiple segments here. And there are going to be probably somewhat different needs depending on the segments and how those are implemented.
Right.
There's a lot more program development work that's still going to come out of these programs that we're talking here. This is very high level.
John is next, but before I do that, I'd like to ask staff, is there a specific thing you want us to address? This was an action item for us. I just want to ask, because we're running out of time, and I know there's public comment here too, so I just wanted to know, what is it you would like from us?
Well, I think that Shelby wants feedback.
Just feedback,
I
so you're
think-
getting that,
So
okay.
I think, feel free to ask your questions, but also to make recommendations as well. For
Okay.
example, if you had a recommendation.
And John first, then we're gonna go to public comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to better understand flex market, like, how does the money support that program? Okay, talking to this, okay.
Thank you.
So does the money like just support the aggregators that are running that program, or is it like a way to increase the return on investment, like the payback period? Like someone says, I'm gonna upgrade the lighting in my facility. They're gonna save money as a result on energy, but they're also gonna save energy and they get like a bonus from this money to do that, to get a quicker return on investment. Is that how the money is spent?
Great question. So flex market, let's think of it kind of like an open market, right? We just ask aggregators, we say, we're business model agnostic. We're gonna pay you on the total system benefit which is a fancy word in the energy efficiency world. It's basically the grid benefit of your energy savings. We're going to pay you for that. And we don't care how you use that money, whether that's to offset upfront cost, passing on performance incentives to the customer. We don't dictate how that money is used. A lot of aggregators do give an upfront incentive to their customers. So the incentive is paid out of their own pocket upfront to a customer, and then we pay them performance on the back end. So they're lowering the cost of the project to the customer, but we don't dictate how they do it. So it's kind of a free market. We say, give us your energy savings and we pay you for that. However you make it happen, you make it happen.
Okay, thanks. And then Robert asked a question, so I won't ask that again on the percentages, but on strategic energy management, is that like a program that could support a building performance standard kind of approach to reducing energy building uses over time?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Remy?
Yeah.
Quick one, I think you answered this with Robert, but I wasn't clear on it. So if you had a project, so that owner can dip into, let's say, PG&E's bucket as well as PCE's bucket, or they only can dip in one or the other, and this additive means you have more buildings or more owners able to be served?
Yes, so we're trying to be complementary as much as we can with PG&E programs and not duplicative. So it's possible, I don't know what the final designs could look like, but it's possible that a customer could participate in a PG&E program for, let's say, an HVAC installation, and they could participate in PCE's program for an attic insulation incentive. And they can work through both PCE and PG&E as long as you're not paying for the same type of upgrade for the same customer at the same time. So we want to be complementary, not duplicative as much as possible. And yes, it is additive to the PG&E dollars.
Thank you, that helps a lot.
All right, are there any members of the public? I'd like to limit it to 2 minutes on this topic, please, and we can take action if we have time. We're already over. Please go though. And they can you give them the mic, or do they come to the podium, or what do you want to do?
Hi, my name is James Chalea. I work for Home Energy Analytics. We run the Home Intel program. It's a residential energy efficiency and building decarbonization planning program. We've been doing this for about 8 years for PG&E. We existed for a while. In fact, early funding was through a high energy homes program with Woodside, Portola Valley, and Atherton. So, and I've been here before, mostly in the early days with PCE, but and our program is actually listed on your rebates and incentives finders as a program for your customers. One nice thing is that I want to encourage look forward to cooperating and collaborating to take advantage of our program because it's already paid for. It's free to customers. We've helped over 80,000 homes, renters, apartments, buildings, anybody, owners, mobile homes, condos. So we help all kinds of homes. We have over 5,000 clients that we've helped in San Mateo County, in your jurisdiction, and look forward to doing a lot more. And so I want to make sure that Shelby, I don't think I've met you. I look forward to helping you understand our program. We're actually one of the few very rare cost-effective residential programs. So since you're not able to do much in residential with most of this funding, we can help right away in the next 3 years before you even get the funding, because we already exist. We help with the affordability issue that you have, and we can collaborate on the equity, just like we've done, worked with pilot programs with PCE in the past, with the Harvest Thermal pilot, something that Bruce Mass did, also with the building electrification. So very highly complementary. We already have helped over 5,000 clients in your customers, residential homeowners and renters. in your community. Look forward to working with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I look forward to working with you too, and connecting with you. I would love to learn more.
Please. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you very much. Rick Bonilla. I didn't really see anything on this because I don't think I was able to see the slides, but I may have been able to, I didn't really look. I'm really very interested. I think this has the potential to be a great, huge program that'll kickstart some stuff that has been very difficult, I think, to get going over the last couple of years. I'm interested though in more about the details. And it seems like this is a high level kind of opening to it here. And I really want to learn more. And I see that it's going to take, it looks like it has a rollout of like 3 years to really get it going. Seems like a long time because we kind of need it yesterday. But I think that if I were here and I needed to vote on this tonight, I would vote on it, but with a tentative measure of confidence, because it could be that we live in a fast changing world and things might change and we need to remain flexible. So, you should try things that are going to make a big difference. And I think this has potential to make a big difference. That said, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really good point, that these programs will start in 2028. And so as we're developing this portfolio, we kind of do need to remain flexible. And a lot of that will occur in our application. So some of these things won't be fully baked. For example, we'll say in our application, like, we want to do a program like this. These are the types of measures that we are thinking of implementing. But when we hire an implementer in 2028 to actually do this work, we'll hone in on the program design more closely. So some of these things will remain flexible, and it does seem very high level, and we are at the very beginning stages now. But yeah, thank you for your comments so much, and I agree.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to see if I could say one more thing.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Just one more thing. Regarding the questions that Mr. Booker asked, when I hear this about paying for the difference in energy usage and one of his questions, which I find, my background, I am a retired union organizer, very concerned about prevailing wage, fair payment of people doing the work. I don't know how you find out what's happening if you don't have some sort of enforcement, because wages for that work have been established in this very high cost of living area. And some employers are able to find people who commute from Modesto and do the work a lot cheaper. And it's not really fair. And you also don't get the advantage of the training. People who live here and work here at the established wages have access to free training upgrade programs every day of the week, as long as they're a member of their union. Other people have been trained by who knows who, Tom, Dick, or Harry. I don't know, they were working with. So those are my last comments. Thanks.
Thank you. And I think there was one here, but I saw one online earlier and I forgot it. Is there someone online who had their hand up to make a public comment?
Yeah, I don't see a hand raised right now,
We
but
can come back to them. Then I'll turn it back over to Raphael, please.
Yeah, just one other comment. Some of you have observed our program development and evolution, for a number of years. And that process.
Oh, thank you. So my comment here is just a flag for those who have observed program development at Peninsula Clean Energy for some time. You may know that often we iterate through our programs actually pretty quickly and are able to execute in some cases pretty quickly. We are now entering the realm of CPUC programs. This is a completely different ballgame. Everything is going to move very, very slowly, and it's going to have a number of constraints that we will not be able to do anything about. They can be high impact. We will seek to make them as high impact as possible, but we will be entering a space where we will have less flexibility and less ability to move quickly. So that will become more apparent as we move forward. But under Shelby's leadership, I'm confident that we will have a very good program coming out of this in the end.
Great, thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay.
John has a local comment.
Okay, John, let me ask this first and then I'll please do your comment. Does anybody want to make a recommendation after John ask his comment about what we could do here. Either endorse this, ask more questions, ask for more information, or something like that. Think about that while John makes his comment, please.
Or not endorse it. maybe.
Or not endorse it, yes,
Do whatever
sorry.
you want.
Do whatever you want, even anything they want to recommend or pass right now.
Just a real quick follow-up question to Raphael's comments. The lack of flexibility, that only pertains to this program. It doesn't affect other PCE programs, right?
Correct.
Okay, Robert, you have a?
Well, for me, I would endorse this program as long as Steve's questions are addressed on a regular basis, not just once in a while. That as the program develops, those questions are addressed. My question about equity, I really want this to be max equity. Now, I understand this is PUC. I'm glad Raphael said that because it is a lot less flexible than other things we'll be dealing with. But to the extent that you can be flexible, please be flexible. I'd like to report it. So I guess I'm making a motion that we endorse this.
I have a major procedural problem, which is our wonderful draft taking person is also running around with the microphone. So we have to pass the microphone around so Vanessa can help us write this up.
I can run the microphone. So that
Okay, is that right? Okay, so I think we have a motion there. Remy,
I had a quick question.
we asked a quick question, but then think about his motion, see if you want to second it, we can refine it, please.
Yeah, I had a question because the time frame is so long. I'm shocked it takes them 2 years to review the application, but I guess that's CPUC. I don't know if there's anything we can do to expedite it, but while this kind of long drawn out process is happening, are our current EE program still in place and will run till 28 till this thing comes out?
Yes, so our PCE funded programs will continue to run and iterate as the years go on. Our Flex Market program that is currently CPUC funded, that funding cycle ends in May or the beginning of May of this year. However, we are going to be submitting an advice letter to extend that funding until the 2028 portfolio, when approved, comes into effect.
Great, thank you. We do have a motion. I'm going to try to reclassify it. Robert's motion was.
And I want to amend it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kathleen. I didn't see you. Go ahead. Sorry.
I just have a really basic quick question. Is this, and you may have said this earlier and I just missed it, is this a new program through the CPUC or is this just the first time PCE has pursued it?
This is the first time PCE has pursued ATA. The only other CCA in California who has this apply to administer status is Marin Clean Energy, or MCE. I don't think they go by Marin Clean Energy anymore. It is just MCE. Yana, who's on the call, helped in that initiative and is leading strategy with us as well. So a couple of the CCAs have done the ETA, which we currently have for our Flex Market, but we will be the second CCA to do this ATA process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Well, I guess this is sort of an amendment to what Robert is talking about. I was just wondering if we could endorse this with the added comment or suggestion that we somehow get to speak to the CPUC. I'm assuming they're a public body and there are proper opportunities to make comments. And so could you move up this process? You know, Mother Nature's not waiting on rules and regs, and it'd just be nice if we could speed it up.
Go ahead, Gail.
Last question, I don't, is there any reason not to do this?
Can I ask one question that would eliminate that?
Good question, Gail. All right, Diane, go ahead. Diane, Robert, and then I'm going to relay what I heard, the combined motion.
So I think the cost impacts were covered in the presentation at around a few dollars per month for all the bills. But is there a way to keep this off of low-income customers' bills? Like if you're on CARE or FARA, can you waive it so that they don't have to pay the extra $2? Or how do you address that concern about adding an extra cost for people who can least afford it?
Yeah, I would amend the motion to include what she just said. Okay, we, in addition to equity, the DIR things that Steve raised, we also address the ongoing cost to the customers. Who pays, where's the money coming from? And how do equity customers not pay the fines.
Let me restate, here are the 4 big points, and you can correct it, and then I want Raphael to, he's gonna change some of them, but let me do this first. 1, we would endorse it. 2, we focus on the equity piece. 3, we make sure that we try to get the prevailing wage, an enforceable prevailing wage. 4, we request the PUC, speed it up. And 5, that we make sure that the cost, or we request that the cost not come off the low income customer. Are those the 5 points? Okay, Raphael, go ahead.
So I just want to return to the comments that I made earlier.
Please.
This is, the PUC is not a body that is particularly responsive to individual comments. It has a very specifically defined process and rules around how things work. Frankly, just to be totally candid, all the things that have been listed here are not things that we can incorporate at this stage. We will not be able to define how this shows up on people's bills and where the PPP is well defined, and that's not going to be changed. Again, you know, the unfortunate reality is when you enter the realm of CPUC programs, it's extremely rigid. So what will be most useful actually is when we come back with more defined programs around specifically what we want to do and how that's going to work out. And there will certainly be some flexibility there. At this stage of the game, it's going to be very limited, certainly in terms of changing anything with regards to timelines or specific requirements about how the process should work.
What is PPP?
I'm sorry, the public purpose charge, that is the funding that comes from individual bills to support energy efficiency programs. I would note that, of course, customers who are on the CARE and FARA program do receive very substantial discounts. And so the burden that those customers receive off of these kinds of programs is even smaller than the average customer.
I see Shelby also has a comment.
Oh, go ahead, Shelby.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify the affordability piece of this, and that when I mentioned on my slide that energy efficiency funding costs less than 2% of a customer's bill. I think it's actually, the latest number is like 1.5% of a customer's bill. And the funding that we're looking for to fund the PCE programs is not 1.5%. It's going to be a very, very small, tiny percentage of that 1.5% of the bill. It's going to be negligible because it is spread across the entire PG&E customer base.
1 second. Do we want to retract the motion then? Do you want to just not do a motion? You want to do the motion still?
But the motion's still on the table.
With the same thing?
Well, I respect what Raphael said, that's the truth. That doesn't prevent us from raising the issue.
Want to make sure.
That's
Okay.
what we're doing, we're raising the issue.
Okay, so the 5-point motion that we sort of outlined, I don't know if it hasn't got any of that, is still on the table. Remy, do you have another question?
Yeah, the 1.5% of each bill that you mentioned, whether we do this program or not, the customer still ends up paying that 1.5%, right? Then another utility or another CCA would apply for this funding, is that correct?
I think what we're saying is that it's such a small percentage, like our addition to the existing 1.5% is not going to be a 0.5 percentage point. It's going to be 100th or 1,000th percentage point, or maybe even smaller. So it's not going to be recognized pretty much, but there are several other entities that are requesting funding, the IOUs, the Bay Ren, or all of the RENs, things like that. So affordability is a concern at the PUC level, obviously, with the executive order last year as well. So it is our addition to it will be very negligible.
Okay, John?
I was just wondering if we wanted to go around the room and see if anybody had like feedback for Shelby on the questions that are on the screen. I will just offer one suggestion on the role that PCE should play in workforce development. I'm assuming PCE is not thinking about developing their own workforce program, so I would assume that the money that we have from the CPUC would be towards like targeting organizations locally that are already doing workforce development. Is that the idea? Like helping those organizations with additional funds?
It could be.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's a recommendation, it could be, it could also be, hiring an organization to go to the mom and pop trade allies, and hold a training where we talk about refrigeration handling or something of that nature. Something that helps support them, but yeah, not necessarily internally developing a whole program for training, but externally supporting.
And we certainly have some members of this committee who are very knowledgeable about workforce development or reaching renters and some.
Do we have any members of the CAC who haven't spoken on this topic? I want Vanessa to show what I think was Robert's motion here in a second. And I'd like to second it once we do that, but anybody else? Joseph?
Hi, my comment is about something you brought up very recently, just now. You mentioned it before, but you've mentioned Bay Ren again and the other Rens, and to me, it seems like there is a lot of overlap, especially with the questions that you have up here to consider. These are all of the same questions that undoubtedly Bay Ren also tries to address. So my question is really more, do we think it's going to create a lot of confusion for people? Is it going to create competition between Bay Ren and PCE and PG&E, who are all trying to establish different energy efficiency programs, which are all pulled from the same PPP funding, if I'm understanding that correctly? So I just wonder if there is going to be a lot of crowding with everyone having the good intentions, but maybe even encountering and butting heads against each other.
Yeah, that's a great question. We're working really closely with Bay Ren and PG&E as we're talking about our portfolio. The Rens have a very specific goal, which is to fill gaps to existing programs, and they have a lot of equity focus. And so I would say we would probably bump into Bay Ren less than we bump into PG&E. But we are working really closely with our other administrators in the area to cooperate and to offer the best complementary programs as we can.
And can I just add real quick? I mean, to put it really simply, these programs from PG&E and Bay Ren have been out there for many, many, many years, and there's still such a huge need. It's just reaching more customers more quickly, because I think we all acknowledge we're in a climate crisis. We need to decarbonize, we need to save energy, and it's just reaching more customers more quickly. That's the simple of it, because there's still plenty of customers out there who want to do energy efficiency, who want to do electrification, and haven't been able to access the program.
Thank you. So in other words, we're going to do it better.
Not even necessarily better. I mean, I personally think we're going to do it better, of course, one. But then, yes, also just like, again, we can reach customers that maybe PG&E hasn't reached. They may trust us more than they may trust PG&E. There's many factors that make a customer join a program and participate in a program. We're out here in our community. We know our community. We work with CBOs. We are clearly more connected. PG&E serves a humongous territory. We're more connected in our service area. And so we can just reach more people more quickly.
Thank you. Let me try to can we take a look at that? Okay, please. Oh, I was just saying if we could look at what I think was Robert's motion. And we can formalize it. And then I'll take questions. I just want everybody to get a chance to look at this so we can be efficient here. Do you want to read that out loud?
I was going to note that, of course, we have a recommendation tracker in which we report back to you the results of your recommendations. Though if you recommend something that we know is not possible, we will not be able to recommend to report back to you that we did it. So putting that expectation out. That if you recommend something we can't do, we're not gonna be able to report back that we did it.
Yeah, there was.
Well, the first thing I think was the fifth.
Oh, was the first,
The
okay.
first thing above the bullets is the first thing.
Oh, actually, I do have a.
There was, for the public could use, there was we thought there were 5 points. I believe those are the 5 points, just it's the first point and then the 4 bullet points. Is there anything missing from that recommendation that you've made and others doing
I
too?
would like to add
Rather here.
something. I think the extension of the flex program and that 70%, extension of the flex program, that 70% should be targeted to small family-owned businesses rather than the big conglomerates. So I'd like to have that added as the 5th bullet point.
I
Robert, that
will
was your
add,
original-
I'm sorry, can I make a comment here? I will add that the small business program, so Bayren also has a flex market, and that is targeted to small businesses already. So that's something that is already carved out for Bayren, and they have that available right now.
I mean, is there still a need that both can have the same mission and still, serve the small businesses? There's enough small businesses to serve, I guess I should say.
Yeah, so we'll have to do like a joint cooperation memo with Bayren, and we'll decide how we want to go about this. I think what it will look like, and I can't promise anything, but it'll say Bayren has the first right while they have funding to serve these specific customers. And then if Bayren runs out of funding, then PCE can offer it to them, if that makes sense.
Okay, and if they don't run out of funding, then we have to have flexibility to pivot, is that right?
We would continue to serve other customers outside of that particular segment, the small business segment, because it is already carved out for Bayren.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Vanessa, if you can kind of add that, whatever. To, if they run out, then we would do, first prioritize the small businesses.
Yeah, I see that Yana has her hand raised and Raphael, they might be providing some context as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to call out that the requirements for cost effectiveness will necessarily mean that the majority of the investment and focus will be on larger commercial customers, where there are large efficiency opportunities and lower cost to deliver those efficiency opportunities. So the portfolio that Shelby described with the resource acquisition, equity, and market transformation, those buckets are very tightly defined in terms of how much funding can be put in each bucket to derive what outcomes. So again, unfortunately, CPUC programs are extremely rigid, and we will have to operate by those rules for this funding.
Okay, I'm not sure the best way to do this, but I think I have maybe a counter or an alternative motion to pose. And that would be, since I think it was mentioned at the beginning that.
A point of order, don't you have to then deal with the first motion?
We do, but we haven't had a second yet. I was about to.
Okay, so
but I
we
think
don't
we're
have a
having-
motion, we don't have a motion.
I think I would request that you pull back on it for the moment.
Okay.
Can you do that? We can still bring it up again to competing pieces. I want to hear the competing idea.
Okay, I just, as I recall, the PCE is currently in the stage of. I can't remember, just figuring out kind of where the gaps are, what the biggest needs are, needs assessment, right? So. I would be inclined to support the proposed approach and request that we, the CAC, receive another report on this once that needs assessment has been completed, but maybe before anything is actually submitted, so we can get a sense of, okay, what did you find? What are the needs? And then that might be the time to be adding, putting in these specific types of recommendations. It just feels like it might be a little bit premature for some of these things right now.
Yeah, may I just speak real quick? Because I wanted to bring us back to the original intent why Shelby came and me, why we came here today. And that was to get your input into what type of energy efficiency programs we should be developing in terms of, to be part of that needs assessment. We're in the early stage. Right now, we're not asking you for approval of any programs or moving ahead or anything like that. We're in the information gathering phase, and we would love to, you as community members, we would love to get your feedback on what are your priorities in terms of energy efficiency funding. I feel like because there were so many questions today, which are great because we should deal with questions first, we didn't really get to the point of why we came to you today, which is gather your input on, what are the customer types you would prefer serving? Like what are the gaps that you've seen in existing programs? Like really gathering your input. That was more of a priority for us as staff today than like a motion if you're supporting this initiative or not. So I am now wondering, like, how can we get that input from you? We could, I don't think we have time today, but we could send you a survey. We could, you could send us emails. Like that's what we're really looking for you from you today is input into kind of what our community needs in terms of energy efficiency.
Okay.
And
Robert and then Remy, and then I have a
Listening to
recommendation.
Kathleen, she and I are on the same page. And that is, here are our concerns. We would like these to be addressed, whether it's part of the package, however you do it, so that moving forward, you know what our concerns are. You asked what our concerns are. These are our concerns. We endorse your approach with these concerns moving forward. I think that's what Kathleen was saying.
Maybe we don't need a resolution.
Well, I would like to be on the record. That's why I made the endorsement.
Cool. Remy, you can go, and then I have a recommendation to achieve that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if you're asking us, like, one of the things, mention maybe there's a program that is cost effective and efficient for, let's say, small businesses for energy efficiency. That's not the flex program or, the one that's geared towards large scale businesses as per, what Raphael was saying. So, that's maybe a little bit more research on and creativity in creating the programs. Thank you.
Could I recommend, and Kathleen and Robert and others, if we remove the first sentence and say the CAC encourages staff to explore the 4 bullet points and add Remy's 5th bullet point about focus on small business needs, and that become the resolution, would that be sufficient? Okay, so I move that we do that.
Second.
I have a second. Vanessa, you got what I'm saying?
Take out the entire.
Right, before we second it, let's try and see we're agreeing over, right? And remove the first sentence, remove the proposed energy efficiency approach sentence. Yeah. I don't know if we need to characterize it in the context of what we're talking about, but that works for me. That's my motion. All right, Robert's, you know what, Robert, why don't you make the motion?
I make the motion.
And I second that motion. All right, thank you. Any comment before we vote? Great, all right, can we take a vote on that? I'm sorry, I'm desperately eager to hear Aurelio's presentation.
You do need to keep energy efficiency in there, because when I read those 5 points, they're now kind of out of context.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so explore how to achieve energy efficiency in programs by this.
May I make a friendly amendment to number 3 that it's actually achievable, like advocate with the California Public Utilities Commission to streamline the funding process as much as feasible. I'm not sure if that works for you, but that is something we do. We do advocate with the Utility Commission
Agreed.
all the time to streamline the funding process, for
Your
sure.
wording is better than mine. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, we
there
agree
you
with
go.
that wording. All right, so Robert, would you make a motion based on the new wording?
We were, just on that number 3, we were concerned about the 2 years it takes to review your application, which seems excruciating.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's basically
we wanna
1
be a little
year to
more
draft the
specific.
thing and then 1 year review. It is very
No.
long, but it's $40 million also. We can't forget that, right?
I think this will get us there partially, and we'll revisit this in the future. Okay, thank you. All right, I have a motion for Robert. Wait, Diane, what do you got?
Can you make one more friendly amendment?
Sure.
Can we include making an effort to support existing energy efficiency programs in the interim? Because it'll be 3 years before this moves forward, and we shouldn't just sit on our hands those 3 years. Because there are a lot of great, we heard from one of the providers of an existing energy efficiency program. There are many more. Should we make an effort to support those through PCE while we're waiting for this new one?
Is there any objection to adding that extra bullet point?
I know that.
We're out of order here.
The extended, extending the EE, the current EE CPUC program.
Okay. All right, Robert, can I have a new motion? We're not in order here on any of this.
The wonderful additions that everybody's made.
Okay, I second that. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
This is Jen, legal counsel. We don't need a roll call vote
Oh, is there anyone objecting to
because
this?
everyone is in the room.
Okay, great. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, it moves on to the next thing. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Okay, now, I've been waiting for this for several months, not to put any pressure, but this is a topic we have not always focused on. I'm happy we get to start to do that here today with this presentation. Take it away, Aurelio, and take as much time as you need and do what you need to do, not be rushed by my recent behavior.
Okay. Okay, good night, everyone. The presentation today is based in how to help renters. to enroll in-
Really, could you put it closer?
How to help renters
Thank
to
you.
enroll in different programs. Stay the owner, but at the same time respect the owner decision if the renter, they want to enroll in different programs. So some energy discount and resources for renters, how can apply? Second, sorry for my English fault. English is not my English is gonna be my second language. So probably what is gonna be Spanish, as you hear now. Okay. Okay, well, I think so. I want to delay that one, but I work for Reconcilia. Reconcilia is a non-profit organization, and we helping customers to enroll in different programs. One of them is the helping to understand the PG&E bill, helping customers to enroll in LIHEAP program, CARE, and FERA. That's the main focus for this presentation. We have different programs and renters can enroll by themselves. We no asking or don't have permission for the owner. I think there may be correction. The first one is the Peninsula Clean Energy. Now is the 10%, instead 5% off. And utility bill, they enroll automatically when they open the PG&E bill, or they want to enroll automatically when the program coming out for San Mateo County. There are two more programs, CARE and FERA. CARE offer the 20% off, and FERA offer the 18% in the utility bill. Is a monthly. When I pass some paper to you, you can see the first one is how they can be enrolled in CARE and FERA. There are two ways to be enrolled in CARE and FERA. One is for the income, and the other one is they participate in other programs, for example, like the program or medical baseline or CalFresh. And we were talking about the energy savings assistance program, like HIP, Bridge, medical baseline. Our renters make up nearly 40% of the San Mateo household. This information comes from San Mateo County Sustainability Department.
Really, you mean San Mateo County?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Sorry, thanks.
Okay.
It's also San Mateo.
Okay, in the second page, you have how to be enrolled, like program. I think so. Okay, because the LIHEAP program now is gonna be moved to. Okay. Yeah, this is, okay, and the way you can be enrolling the program is, you need you need to have a social security number. You have to show the identification, could be the driver license, passport, and have the income verification, could be the pay stubs, like statement, CCI, or another way, is when you are already are in CalFresh, or you are in medical baseline, a medical, no medical baseline. When the renter or the owner, the house, we need to fill all this application. It's very hard because we had a Spanish and newcomers. They don't know how to enroll in this program, especially when they asking for a social security number. They don't have social security number. I think it's gonna be this one. Let me see. Yes. Even if they don't have a social security number, they can be enrolled if one member in the family have a social security number. Usually it could be the child or any person or parents in the house that have one social security number, they can be enrolled in the program. If the person they don't can prove the income document, we make a letter. We sign the letter, where the customer sign the letter, and we helping them to enroll in the programs. I just this one. We the reason to be enrolled in care and federal is this one. It's very easy to enroll the first time because PG&E doesn't require any information, just to fill the application at the first time. The second one is a little bit hard because when, for any reason, PG&E take the care off for the PG&E bill, now they need to show the verification. Now they need to show a paper or a state or letter to prove they qualify for the program. Care program verify every 2 years. They need to be re-enrolled in the care program. The other program is when they over the 400 tier, they can go to the care program and they need to reapply for the program. Another hard situation is knowing the paper because it's very hard to explain is the submitter. Because when people live in the building, they have a master building and now they need to each apartment apply for the care program. It's a little bit hard to us and even for the PG&E or for the landlord or the manager for the apartment, how to verify each person in the apartment or each apartment qualify for the care program. Another program that's what is not in the paper. Now we have a REACH program. The energy is the REACH program. El Concilio, we have access to the energy, to the REACH program, and we enroll the customer online. It's basically the same information for the care or for the HEAT program. The good thing for this one, REACH at this moment, they don't ask for the social security number. Any family can be enrolled. The only thing they require, the person who applied is in the PG&E bill.
Sorry, my computer crashed. Can I borrow yours? Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, we'll get the slides up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
Wait.
Can I ask a question in the meantime, Chair, through the chair? Can I ask? All through this, it says no weatherization program. Was that canceled?
I don't. Can I say?
Yeah.
Yeah. REACH program no offer the weatherization program. The only program who offer the weatherization program is gonna be in the next one is the Energy Savings Assistance Program. Is the same requirements to be enrolled in care program or REACH program. could be for income or they already participate in another program. But the good thing for each program in some states, they helping to pay the water bill. Not here in California, but in other states.
We're back on.
I can go with that. Yeah. You can go to the next.
Down. Medical basement. Okay, we're working on the slides here. Here's reach. Up. Oops. I think you're done. Did you just talk about reach? We just did this one, right?
No, energy saving system. Energy saving system.
Aha, here.
Yes.
Okay.
The energy savings system program is that one. The only thing for the renter, they need to sign the property owner waiver. And it's very hard because if you see the paper, the property owner waiver need to be signed for the owner or the administrator for the building. And they had a question number 13. When they are enrolled, they need to share the information. And people or renters or Latin people, we are not very happy to when they want to share all information to another organization or to different companies for PNE. The other thing, they have different subcontractors because they qualify for a refrigerator. So it's gonna be one subcontractor enroll the customer to the energy savings system program, and another subcontractor is going to deliver the refrigerator. And the water, okay. So, how my last ideas or discussion here is how Peninsula Clean Energy could participate in housing, and how can help another resident. If you see the last page in yellow, actually they received a letter for Peninsula Clean Energy. They are behind the payment. And in this one, the family of the person, he already was enrolled in HIP program. HIP program doesn't decide with how much they're gonna help in this family. And Rich already helped this family with $300. But if you see the bill, it's $7,955. How this thing happened? Because this family had one child, he was in accident, he was in this hospital, they need to pay all the expenses for the hospital, and now he need to use the medical baseline because for all the lesion he suffered, he was enrolled in medical baseline, but they always behind because they need electricity to cover the medical condition for this patient. So my question here is how Peninsula Clean Energy could be enrolled or could have customers after they participate in all the programs can assist him or his family, give a reach. And they always, we wanna be behind to the bill because they can afford to pay the bill. Thank you. That's that. Any question?
Would you like to suggest that the CEC discuss that question or ask staff that question? Or?
I don't think
I can make an observation that I was lucky enough to see. I can make an observation that I was lucky enough to see you present to renters in North Fair Oaks and in South San Francisco. And the more that PCE can do to make those presentations and get the word out on a very public basis, like you did in North Fair Oaks and South City, that's fantastic. I can see CAC and the PCE having a bigger role in getting the word out as part of what we do. So I think that would be one thing we could do, Wizar.
Yep, we can do that.
Well, looking at everybody here is, you've had 2 successful sessions I know of. Yeah, I would encourage you to have more and ask some of us to come and be part of the presentation.
Okay, yes, please.
Dan, Remy?
Yeah, excellent presentation. Thank you so much. I wanted to see if we could do a group brainstorm about how we can get the word out to more people together. And that was one idea that Robert had is you through PCE, great idea. Could we also work with schools or other, congregations or other local institutions for you to give this presentation or provide links in newsletters like PTA or school newsletters about the services from El Concilio to help people?
And then Remy?
Hi Aurelio, this was a fantastic presentation. And I just love how you kind of have all these forms that these folks need to fill out and their landlords and, the one, have assistant on, past due bills. This is great. And then I was thinking about just in our marketing, subgroup meeting, we have this fantastic brand new updated PCE website. And it'll be great if staff could work with Aurelio to get all of this information on some kind of tab on that website so that the renters can go in and have the same quality of service that the homeowners and the landlords have. So that would be my takeaway and suggestion. Thank you.
Joseph?
Aurelio, very good presentation. Thank you so much for giving it. I think that with all the different pieces of literature here and with all the different programs and everything, it's still even a little, confusing if someone were to try and navigate all of this. And I think that with the availability of all these such programs, which is very good, at the same time, I think that like some kind of simplification on the website or something that we can offer here at PCE to basically just make a flow chart of something to really say if you have this condition or this situation that applies to you. Anyway, I think that that would be my kind of contribution of suggesting something, but honestly, this was very enlightening and eye-opening that there are so many different programs, but it is almost frustrating to see that there's this confusion of choice of which ones that someone can even qualify for. It's just a lot of qualifications.
Do we have something new on the website that helps? I haven't made it all the way through the new thing. There's a lot to read.
I haven't either. I don't know everything that's on the new
I'm on the
website.
marketing committee.
We'll get back to you on what's actually on our website. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that most all of these programs are at least mentioned on our website. We don't process any of the applications for them, so we'll be directing people to go out to other appropriate venues to apply. Like CareFair, for example, and the medical baseline are all processed directly by PG&E on their website. There's another program that PG&E offers that piggybacks on top of CareFair, in particular for customers that are in arrears. So they have a large past due balance on their account called the Arrearage Management Plan, or AMP is short term for it. That's a program that we've been doing some direct outreach to qualified folks to help encourage them to sign up for it. Because if you do qualify for that program and you sign up for it, what ends up happening is your past due balance gets put into like an escrow account by PG&E, and they you pay your current balance going forward, and for every month that you pay your current balance going forward, 1/12 of your past due balance gets forgiven, up to $5,000 in past due charges for that customer, and that covers all of their energy bills. So it covers electric, gas. It also covers the PCE charges as well. So that's another program. But again, since we don't administer directly any of these, we don't process any of that. So we direct people out to where they can actually apply.
Kathleen?
Yeah, and we often refer them to Aurelio. And to sort of set a little bit of a baseline of what Peninsula Clean Energy does do to get the word out through our community outreach grant. A number of our grantees work in multiple languages in low-income communities. We have a specific flyer about how customers can save money, and then that flyer sends them to El Concilio so they can enroll in these programs.
Kathleen?
Can I,
Well, go ahead, please, but then
I
Kathleen.
just wanted to share what we have on our website because I looked.
It's a good aerobic meeting today.
Since we're on the topic, I wanted to highlight that we do have a page on our website under the residential rate section that lists all of these programs, and as Leslie mentioned, points folks to the pages. But more excitingly, I checked our incentives lookup tool, and when you put in, it prompts you to put in your household income and other information, and if you do qualify, it does pull up all these programs. So I didn't know that.
Kathleen and Gail?
I'm just wondering if there's some linkage that could be established between the program that we just heard about, the energy efficiency programs, and customers that you're talking about here, someone who's in the kind of situation that you just gave us an example. Could there be some way to link them to these direct assistance programs that would be developed under the equity environmental efficiency programs? Not going to be an immediate solution to somebody's problem when they are behind on their bill, but could help, there's perhaps other ways to help with the immediate bill, but then this could help someone going forward to reduce their bill long-term. So maybe that's something that could be built into this new energy efficiency program that's being developed.
Gail.
I was just wondering if any of this information is offered in different languages? Because it's hard to navigate if you don't.
Since January 20th.
Right, so that is an excellent question. On our website, it can be translated into English, Spanish, Chinese, and Tagalog. The flyers we have on this are in English and Spanish. I think we are coming out with Chinese and Tagalog for the savings flyers as well. And then I think, but there's also a question like, what languages can you support at El Concilio to help customers enroll?
No, I think so it's the same language. South San Francisco now offer Chinese, but they offer two languages in Chinese, and Mandarin, Cantonese, and another in Chinese. And back to the AMP program, the problem with that is when they are enrolling this program for PG&E, they had to pay twice, not twice, but pay for the program in one day and pay for the bill in different day. So the customer get confused how much they're gonna pay and when they're gonna pay. So that's the reason, because most customers, they go for the program and now they're coming with all the bill, and PG&E back all the due they had before. So now the bill was $500, but they entering the program with $1,000 behind. Now they had to pay $1,500. And that's when no HIP, no RISH can helping them to pay the bill. Because right now RISH is only helping with $300 and HIP is only helping with $600. So they're gonna be behind with $700. And at some point, they don't gonna afford to pay everything. Or they always be kind of making the payment what they can pay each month. That's my own observation.
Since it is a kind of lot to navigate, maybe if the new concierge that's being brought on board, concierges can help, this as well. And hopefully, have multilingual concierges too.
Is there any public comment?
I want to make one more comment.
Go ahead.
I forgot to say this earlier. Many congratulations to Aurelio for doing this hard on the ground work. This is the hard work where climate crisis really is dealt with. And they've been recognized, El Consillo, I think you know this, by Sustainable San Mateo County for Sustainability Award for 2025, which they will receive on April 3rd. So congratulations to El Consillo. The kind of work you're doing is just an example of why you deserve that award.
Is there any public comment online?
I
I'd
don't
like-
see him.
I'd like to make another. Oh, go ahead and see you. Get up, I can't see you.
Good evening, Brian Schmidt from Menlo Spark. My comment might be less directed and helpful for El Concilio, but directed towards the broader question of PC assistance to renters. The broader economic issue being if you do decarbonization and electrification improvements in a residence, how do you make sure that the benefits go to the renter and not to the landlord? Menlo Park is wrestling with this right now. One of the things they're thinking about doing is providing electrification benefits in terms of ownership, not going to the landlord. One example of that might be portable heat pumps. And that would not be owned by the landlord, it would be out on loan possibly to the renters. If they leave Menlo Park, maybe they'd have to return it, maybe it would be something they keep permanently. I live in a home that has sun on solar panels. I do not own those homes. I own those panels. So I wonder if it could be possible for batteries or for heat pumps, even with installed ones, to not be owned by the landlord. And then finally, to the extent you have landlords that are operating in systems under which they are unlikely to increase the rent because it's deed restricted properties or they're nonprofits themselves, then those could be good, very good places to focus on for renters, which Menlo Spark did, the Willow Court Housing Project, working with Mid-Penn Housing. Thank you.
And I thank you, Brian. Remember, everybody, announce yourself if you're members of the public too. It was Brian Schmidt, if you didn't say that. And also, I think we've been talking about this for a long time, but
That information coming here.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that the information he say, Robert, I think so. That is giving me. In the page I gave it to you, is all information he said because the daily news. Post information for Menlo Park, East Palo Alto, and Bennett Haven. They're helping rate this to what he said.
Great. And thank you for doing this. I think we should, what Leslie brought up, maybe PC should consider, I'm not making a motion, I just think we should consider something like that here, if it's possible, to have the program you described where people can have a second chance, so to speak, to get caught up. Because I think part of what really is describing here is once you're in trouble, you're in big trouble. And I think Remy spoke to it as well, that it's critically important that if the one-stop shop help has this information ready, so when people are calling in, they know that automatically. I'm sure we're already doing that, but I think that's critically important too. Okay, that was it for me. Did you want to say something, Leslie? I know you look stunned by what I just said. Are you?
Well, I'm Judy, I'll just verify.
Please.
Are you suggesting that we have like a parallel? Because the AMP program is our customers are eligible for that, and our charges are covered under that. So it's a CPUC administered or funded program that PG&E is the administrator for, but it covers all of their energy charges. So all of their electric charges, all their gas charges. So even the past due PCE charges, which PG&E does carry, on their books while it's an active customer, those are included as AMP eligible charges. And I misspoke before, I said it was up to $5,000. It's actually $8,000 in past due charges.
I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah. It's like you have to be enrolled in Cara Farah to qualify, you have to be at least 90 days past due on your account, and you have to have at least $500 in debt. The one stipulation which Aurelio alluded to is once you're enrolled in that program, you do have to pay your current bill on time. If you don't pay your current bill on time, you can get kicked out of the program. And at that point, then they would then reinstate all of your old charges that they had pulled off on escrow. Minus the, couple of payments or however long you'd been on the program. Yeah, because those will, every month you make an on-time payment, you get 1/12 of that balance, discarded. And you can miss 1 month, twice in the period, but not consecutively. So you have to get caught up. If you don't get caught up like in the next month, then you get kicked off the program. You can also though re-enroll in another 12 months. So it is possible to get back on that program later, but that is one of the stipulations, is it's meant to keep you on track with current bills. And if you can't stay on track with the current bills, then yeah, you're not gonna ultimately benefit from it. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Aurelio. You put out some good questions for us, but do you have thoughts on those questions that you'd like to share with us?
Thank you.
In the paper, for example, this one, I had many customers in this situation. And after we enroll in HIP and REACH, it's no other program can help them to pay the utility bill. So I don't know how Peninsula Clean Energy maybe could be enrolled, and after we passes all this program, in some way, probably Peninsula Clean Energy can say, well, let me review the bill, let me review the economic situation for the family, and maybe help them only one time to assist them with the past due. That's my only observation recommendation.
Thank you for that. I think that's great. And I think we should stay on top of this, and we should follow up on all of these fronts, obviously. Okay. The next item on our agenda is the discussion of municipal policy options for greenhouse gas emissions reduction in San Mateo County. Thank you. I'll be really quick. And then this is mostly for us to discuss. It'll be on the agenda next month. This is partially what we discussed last month that Blake presented on, and he will be back next month so we can make recommendations and do further discussion. But I wanted to know if anybody had any follow-up questions they wanted to get going now in this big meeting, because this is an item that we recommended to the board last summer and they took up, and we're hoping we don't let it slow down or drop. So I just wanted to take the moment. We have 10 minutes here to go around the room, and if anybody wants to discuss it, please do so. And we will bring this up again next month as well. Okay, Robert?
It's gonna be a minute and a half, I hope. You know what I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna ask you.
Wait for it.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Kirsten.
I get that. Thank you. I just asked that, this is something that's so important for all of us, that we publish the methodologies, formulas, and data from the different policies, from many policies as soon, so the public will have confidence in it and that the CAC can fulfill its public role. I'm asking to make the data broad enough so that any member agency can use it as they are considering decarbonization and electrification policies. And I would add, let's allow the agencies, the member agencies, to learn what they don't know. They've heard of breach code for new construction, but there's so many other options out there. And I want to be able to have data and formulas that the public can use and that the agencies can use. And we're talking then much more than just reach codes. And let's be clear that we are speaking of all electrification policies that member agencies can adopt, and that gets discussed next month, and that will be included in our final action. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Before we go to the public? Remy?
Well, given the federal funding may be at risk for a lot of this stuff for municipal agencies, a list of all the, current rebates and grants that are out there, local, state, federal, are available to municipal agencies, like, to replace diesel cars with EVs and, electrification of public buildings, energy efficiency, installation measures, public buildings, that sort of thing. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody? We are all here. Anybody else in the room? Okay, oh, Diane?
Brief, I know it's late. +1 to Robert's comments. And I just want to underscore the urgency here in getting information to cities and to the public about the building electrification policies that are under discussion this year. We started this discussion last May, so it's been almost a year. I think it's really important to note that the state code, the Title 24 Energy Code, has come a long, long way, which is great, and we should all applaud that. But also, experts are saying the new state code that starts in January of 2026 is going to lead to the vast majority of new construction using heat pumps for heating and water heating. So almost all electric. And that kind of calls into question the value of performance-based energy codes where it's promoting all electric construction, but not requiring it. I think it's really important to spell out what are the benefits? How much do performance-based energy codes move the needle beyond the new state standard? Is this worth the time of cities to enact, or should we really be focusing on where the big emissions benefits and the health benefits are, which is existing homes? The slide deck, I'll wrap it up, I know. The slide deck that was released for last month for us was a little bit misleading because it used the baseline of the prior energy code, and that made the central recommendation from PCE, these performance-based reach codes, look like it was very impactful. I think it's really important to correct those slides for the actual baseline, which is the 2025 state code that starts in January of next year, and to really give people a sense of the magnitude of difference between existing building policies and looking at what we can do for new construction, where the state is already saying new construction is going to be all electric. Thanks.
Any other committee members? I can't see you. All right, John, go ahead.
Yeah, I just agree. These programs are super important for decarbonizing our buildings. And I think this was mentioned in our last meeting, but there is a state bill, AB 306, which would take away this ability for cities to adopt these types of codes. And it would also jeopardize the 2025 Energy Code, the 2028 State Energy Code, the 2031 Code. So just familiarize yourself with that bill and understand the repercussions associated with it. Just want to make that point.
Can you remind us who the author of AB 306 is, please?
Yes, it's authored by Nick Schultz from Burbank, co-authored by Robert Rivas, the Speaker of the House. It also has co-authors of Buffy Wicks and Matt Haney.
Any other committee members? Members of the public, would you like to comment on this? Has anybody online? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And staff, I thank you for doing that too. Okay, the next is Kirsten and Vanessa on the marketing committee liaison update.
Okay, great. And actually, I'd like to invite our board liaison, actually thank our board liaison for being here tonight. Thank you, Leslie Ragsdale, for being here tonight. That's my cue for the little announcement.
Get applause for sitting here, just listening to you guys, such experts. I'm just so incredibly grateful. I'm here just to, well, obviously just to be here and listen to you guys. Also, Donna Colson couldn't be here tonight, and she and Sean Marcia wanted me to pass along an update. That's being presented to our exec committee. So you guys are hearing this first, as it should be. The exec committee is going to be considering creating an ad hoc committee to look at all of our different committees and subcommittees and just do an in-depth study on how other CCAs handle all their various committees, like our Audit and Finance Committee, our Exec Committee, our Citizen Advisory Committee, and just figure out what the best practices are. And they'll be looking at CAC first, and then, and this will be in the spring, and then looking at all the others. So this isn't a done deal yet. The executive committee will be talking about it in their April meeting to talk about the creation of this ad hoc committee. In the meantime, they've decided it might be better to put a pause on the recruitment for the committee, just in case they change some of the parameters. They don't want to be false advertising for the details of the committee. And this is, you guys are so appreciated, and this is just to, enhance the committee and check out all the best practices out there.
Thank you. And Director Ragsdale, I would commend to you and the board, Cheryl, last year, we did an entire working group studying what other CACs did and other organizations did. We reported that to the board with an in-depth report with summary data, including all the different permutations that could be there. And that was also something we reported back when we reported our recommendations for how to reconstruct this. The board just passed last summer. So I commend them, definitely look at that, because this committee and Kirsten and staff helped put that together, did a full analysis of what other people do in like-minded organizations. And if you haven't seen that, or if you need a reminder, I'm happy to provide that. But it was a pretty in-depth thing we did, which we did in advance of presenting our recommendations for how to structure the 4 pillars of the mission statement, which was, of course, unanimously approved by the board only last summer. So I throw that in there too.
I will remind them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have through the chair,
Please.
sorry. Can I use this?
I don't think it works. I've been talking into it, but I don't know if it does anything.
Through the chair, so just so I'm clear, the application period just closed for this committee March 1st, I understand.
I'm not, ask Kirsten, I'm not sure.
Yes. What happens to those applications?
I don't know for sure. I would assume they would just hold on to them. I mean, I'm sure they're not gonna make people reapply, but Sean would be the best, through Kirsten, Sean will be the best,
Well, my question is,
answer for that.
will people be selected from those applicants and added to this committee?
Not yet.
So, no.
Well, no, just not yet.
It's not the same as no.
Just no right now.
Just no right now. Thank you.
It's on hold, correct.
It's on hold.
Thank you.
Your seat's safe, Robert.
That's not my question. You know it.
Kirsten, it's your topic, so you tell us what else you want to present.
What else we have?
Yes, thank you so much. So, let's see. Thank you to the committee members who volunteered to support us at our Earth and Spring events this year. We are still getting invitations to additional events. I think we got invited to like 2 more events this week. And so putting up again on the slide here, some shifts that we welcome your support and participation. Go ahead and if you know your schedule right now and want to sign up for one of them, you can let me know. Otherwise, I will send this list of events to you all by email and you can check your schedule. But we really appreciate your support. And we're planning to agendize in April a training session so everyone can brush up on their outreach messages and feel confident going into these events. But it's really fun. A lot of times at Earth Day events, you meet customers who know what Peninsula Clean Energy is. They love the work that we all are doing and get really good feedback from them as well. So thank you so much for being able to support us.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm trying to answer the PC request for meetings that I didn't answer.
I signed up for April 26th. I don't see that on there. Will that be added later? That's still going?
Yes, so thank you to the members who have already signed up. If it's not on this list, it's because we have successfully filled that shift. And so my colleague Lily will be confirming it with you.
Gotcha.
So these are the shifts that we are still hoping to fill with.
Thank you.
I love Earth Day so much. And it also is a many-headed beast because just when we think we have all the shifts filled, we get invited to more events at the last minute. And so these are more shifts that have come up just in the last week that we are looking to fill.
Great, thank you so much for your consideration. My only other update is about our EV managed charging program. And so this was a pilot program that we did to evaluate how to help our electric vehicle drivers charge their vehicles at a time that's beneficial for the grid and that maximizes use of clean electricity. And so there was a CAC working group, I think in 2022, that worked with my colleague Philip on that. And so recently, we just published the results of that pilot study. I will send that out to you all by email. And yeah, just wanted to thank you all, especially the members of the working group who supported that.
Just 2 years ago. I gotta see what I saw.
Any questions?
Good. Any public comment? Okay. Next is the working group reports. Would anyone like to make a working group report? Would anyone like to make a working group report? No, nobody wants to make a working group. Okay, my working groups are great, so thank you, working group leads on all of mine. Any public comment? All right, I get the feeling people want to keep going. Let's go. Upcoming topics for discussion.
Okay, hold on a second. Log in here.
I know we're gonna have Blake come to discuss the greenhouse gas emission reduction plans. We're gonna have the solar and storage that we pushed from this month.
Do you want to look it on my screen?
Oh, you got it up?
Yeah, or you're looking at the.
Yeah, hold on, just let me pull up the document here. But we do know that distributed energy generation, we have a number of items that are going to be coming up soon and that we'll be planning to bring to you. Okay,
Great, April board.
all right, thanks, Vanessa. Okay, good. So coming up to the board or planning to come out to the board in April is a discussion of our distributed energy resources plan, which I know you're all very excited about. No one is as excited as Michael Clausen, who's not here tonight, but I'm sure he'll be very excited. So we'd like to potentially bring that to you. I think that is one of our major items. The other item we'd like to bring to you is a outreach refresher. So many of you have generously signed up to help us with all this outreach, and it's one of course the objectives of the CAC is to help us with the outreach. So we will pull out the talking points and the spinning wheel and the swag and the brochures and refresh you all on how to use all those tools. And so that we'll do that as well. And those are the major items that we've got planned for you in April. Anything else? And of course, we understand you'd like to continue discussing the analysis of the greenhouse gas analysis of policies. I can't tell you what the timeline will be when any additional analysis will be available. So you'll have to ask Blake about that.
Anyone have anything they would like to brought up, John?
Yeah, I'll just say that I've been a Wells Fargo customer for 40 years. And they recently abandoned their financed emission goals. So I went to my local branch today. I told them that I will be taking my business elsewhere, and they filed a complaint. I supposedly will hear in 10 days what that means. But I just would suggest again that PCE consider their banking relationship. Thank you.
Yeah, we've asked a couple times if we could have someone talk to us about our organization divesting from fossil fuel and companies that fund fossil fuel extraction. So we'd love to hear about that.
Great. I have passed that request on to our CFO, and I will pass that request on again. And I believe we are looking at reevaluating our banking relationships. So that is something we are actively looking at doing, and potentially putting out an RFP for a new banking relationship.
Thank you. Any public comment? Okay, am I? No, all right. And then committee member reports. Does anyone have any committee member reports? Any committee member reports? John? Hold on. Yeah.
I'll just quickly say that I had the opportunity to attend the California Energy Commission Electrification Summit one day this week. And the highlight for me was learning that the Danish Energy Agency, which I believe provides all the energy in Denmark, recently turned off their last fossil fuel power plant. So they work with their customers with an app, and basically that app tells the customers when energy is the cheapest for them to use on an hourly basis, and 7 days in advance. So it allows customers to really plan their energy usage. So it's a behavioral shift for the customers. I'm not necessarily saying that that is the solution, but I think it's just inspiring that they have turned off their last fossil fuel power plant, and that they've put programs in place to allow them to do that.
Awesome.
John, I didn't see you there, but I was there too, at the Electrification Summit in Sacramento. It was very well done. What I learned was, by the way, PCE was well represented there with lots of folks talking. I learned about San Mateo, had a discussion about what they've been doing. And also Boulder, Colorado talked about what they've done. They had citizens who were opposed to electrification after the buildings burned. There was a big push to restore it with gas. And they worked against that. They found a way. They had a particular approach that worked best, that I think we should try to repeat here. They talked about the health benefits. One city started out by saying you have to replace with gas, and it's very restrictive. Another city left it up to the public, had a lot of conversation about the health benefits of electrifying, and that seemed to win the day. And that was Boulder, Colorado. Or it was Boulder, one of the cities in Colorado, did just a fabulous job of talking about how that works and how the citizens can be very strong there. So I got a lot out of it. I really recommend it next year. It was free. It was in Sacramento. Very well done, put on by, John said, by the CEC and EPRI. Oh, and while I got the mic, just real quickly, San Mateo, excuse me, has started this decarbonization study. They had 2 workshops, one a week and a half ago and one this morning. And renters came up really big already. Renters is a big issue in San Mateo. How do you help renters electrify? I'm done.
Thank you. Anybody else? Remy, and we'll do public comment.
Yes, actually, today I was on a call with the Third Act, which are, I think, mostly senior citizens doing climate action. And I think actually on last month's call, they were talking about electrification. And there was a wonderful lady that talked about it, and she did not have to upgrade her service by being very smart, telling the contractor, I'm not going to plug in my car and use my induction stove and my dryer at the same time. So therefore, the contractor said, okay, well, in that case, you don't need to, just need to add a sub panel, which maybe, I think she was short on breakers, for a few $100 that was a done deal. So that's, something I know we've talked about in the building electrification subcommittee here. And it'd be great if, PCE and Third Act got together. There's a lot of commonalities. Another item that came up on that meeting, as well as at Scott Wiener's town hall, was regarding a new a bill that's in both houses of the legislature regarding. It's basically, I can't remember the number, but it's basically called Make Polluters Pay. And the concept is You're gonna make Chevron and all the big oil companies pay for the fires that are caused by global warming. All the fires and the storm damage, because our storms are worse, landslides, coastal erosion, and so that's a big change. And, Scott smartly, he's a pretty smart guy, pointed out, hey, this is gonna help us with the whole insurance industry, because if the insurance companies don't have to pay to fix Altadena, and it's the oil companies, guess what? They'll, say, okay, California is not such a dangerous place to have insurance, sell insurance, and they'll start reinsuring us, and our rates will go down. And it'll help for our state budget problem, because the state doesn't have to kick in to pay for all these damages, and maybe you can recover the, firefighting, costs that the state incurs. So that's a big deal. And there's a big push by Third Act and the number of the climate action, groups to get this guy past the post and make it law in California. It's a big game changer. It puts these polluters on notice that, hey, you're not welcome here and you're gonna pay. The other thing, just thinking about this, I was in Norway about 3 years ago, much more than that, it was pre-pandemic. And Norway, all the cars, new cars for the past 6, 8 years have been electric, because they get rid of the VAT or road tax that doubles, triples the cost of a new car there if you have an electric car. And so everybody's buying an electric car, and the dealers are not selling any gas cars anymore in Norway. So the government has power to make significant changes. Thank you.
No, thank you. I think there was a public comment on members' report. Was it Rick? Rick, you're it. So whatever you're done, we're leaving.
I'm the public guy.
The public speaks.
Oh.
I am Rick Bodie. I'm a former board member. And I have been around with PCE since a couple of years before it actually started operating. So I want to say, a friend of mine, Scott Wayner, I helped him get elected in 2010 when he first ran for the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco. So his bill was introduced as SB 222 in late January. And I think it's a really important bill. Thank you for mentioning it. So I'm supporting that, because I think there is a direct linkage to what polluters have done and where we are now, and everything we're trying to deal with here. There was something else I wanted to mention, and now I got lost. So anyway, I want to thank you all for a really great and thoughtful meeting. There was, okay, I'm sorry, I lost it. Thank you very much.
You're back April 10th, I think, so.
Good, thank you.
Be here until then, yeah. All right, anybody have anything else? Good, thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night. We are out 11 minutes earlier than usual, so I don't know how that's.